Okay, so for those of you that haven't used ZBrush, I'm just going to walk through the process. I'm going to use import. I'm going to go grab the dot. Oh.
Which would probably be helpful.
It might be. Okay. So I am okay. So when you import it, you've got to drag it in here. Right now, see how it doesn't say edit? If I do this again, this is the old legacy 2.5D painting system of ZBrush. This is not helpful to you. If you do that, you'll have to hit Control N to get back to normal. Drag out your asset and then put it in edit mode. Now when you click and drag, it's going to tumble your model around instead of adding new things to the depth buffer. Okay? So we need reference on what we want things to look like. If you don't know and haven't sculpted tons of human skin, I recommend finding reference. So I'm going to open up my reference. I'm just going to go with the wrinkly lady again because it's easy to work from. So if I was doing this the way I showed in Houdini, this model would already be subdivided. If you've done it that way, you don't want to subdivide in here, it won't help you. Since this is just a demo, I'm going to just subdivide it a few times until I have enough resolution to represent all the detail I want. I'm going to go again. Okay, so up here you can see your poly count. Now we're at 3 million points. And we should have enough resolution to hold the details we want. Navigating in ZBrush is weird. Watch a YouTube video. Alt drag will pan. If you let go of Alt, it will start zooming. If you just click and drag here in this non-area of the head, it will tumble. Okay? So doing the same thing with Alt pressed will pan, letting go of Alt will zoom. Okay, I'm sorry. This default orange texture is deceptive in the details it shows you. It'll always make your bumps feel like more pronounced than they really are. Switch to something different, like this. You do that clicking over here. Everything here is default. These are matte caps. We talked about matte caps when we were doing the hardware shading stuff. So you can choose different ones. Like if you want to see more shine, you can change to the metal one. But the basic material is pretty good. Control D subdivides, Shift D backs up. So see how we're getting our polygons back again. If you hold down the space bar, it'll bring up this control panel. Here you can change the size of your brush. You can change its intensity. You can also change whether you're in edit mode, which is up here. You can change how it displays it. So here we have it set on lines and fill. So if we click on that, it'll show our wireframe. You can actually click on these words as well. Like if I had poly groups, when I clicked on fill, it would show me different colors when this was on. So that's a useful thing. Yeah. So once we've subdivided, we can just hit the D key to get back to our subdivision level. If we click here in geometry, it will show us that we're at subdivision level 5. If you wanted to store a morph target like we talked about, you can do that here under the morph targets. You can store a morph target. Another thing you can do is you can actually swap the model in after the fact, but it has to be like an OBJ. FBX and some other formats don't work. Okay, so we're going to subdivide, and I'm going to start adding some details. So according to my reference, I'm just going to start, and I'm going to accentuate the nasolabial fold. Now, the brush I like to do this with is the Damien Standard brush, also called the Dam Standard. If you can click here, and you can search for it in here. You can filter by clicking here, and it'll give us the D's. So this is the one we want. You can also type B, D, and then there's a character on each one of these, and then I can hit S, and it'll select the brush. Let's see, anything else? So you can see your brush size. Hold down the space bar, and then you can change the brush size. And right now you see that we aren't in symmetry mode. If we X, it'll be in symmetry mode. And then whatever we do is going to be mirrored across the model. Okay, so detailing the model. Okay, so I'm zooming in closely, you can't see it, and I'm just going to start adding details. So that's too strong. I can, hold on. And we're not getting any pressure sensitivity. Just a second. Okay, so look at your reference, study it carefully, and then you just start working on this. And this is where it really comes down to practice. Control Z is undo, just like in a normal application. And if it feels too sharp, increase your brush size. And just pay careful attention to your reference so that what you're doing here makes sense. If you want to do non-symmetrical stuff, we're just going to turn off symmetry by hitting X, and then we can do like wrinkles that don't have any symmetry in them. I recommend not doing crow's feet with symmetry, because you want to be able to make this feel like an organic thing. And if they're exactly the same, it's going to ruin that feeling of organic nature. And then because she has lots of wrinkles, we can just kind of go to town and detailing things. But pay attention to your reference so that what you do makes sense. Like if I look at my reference, we've got... Now a useful brush here is actually the undo history. So history recall. What you do up here is your undo status. You can actually go back in time. So we go back here, and if I remember right, we just hold down the control key and click on there, and it will set that as an anchor point for the history brush. And now we go back to where we're at, and if we want to erase something, we can use this history brush to go back to the way it was. It's really handy for cleaning up some mistakes or with places where maybe the brush got weird. And right now, see how we've got kind of a pillow right there? We don't like the fact that it's kind of gouging in on one side and not on the other. We could try to erase that, or we could try smoothing. If you hold down the shift key, it smooths. Smooth can be a little bit dangerous in this context because we don't actually want to add smoothing to our end result. So if we do this, like, it'll smooth it all right. And if you hold down the shift key to smooth and start smoothing and then let go, it will do a different algorithm than if you just hold down the shift key the whole time, because ZBrush is overly complicated. There, I did it for you. This is where you're going to want to detail the lips, so look at reference of your lips. You can do the lip detailing elsewhere. Oh, I'm going to show you. So you might find that your brush is a little bit unresponsive, and I know this has nothing to do with sculpting, but Windows ink is our enemy. So let me. So we want. Let's see. Let's just try here in system settings. We want to choose. We want to turn off like long press for right click. So let's see if we can find it. Additional pen settings. We don't want the visual effect. We don't want to use the pen as a right click equivalent. We don't want to press and hold as a right click equivalent. That will prevent weird things from happening. Okay, we're still in smooth, we're still in history. So BDS, now we can sculpt in some details. And if you turn off those Windows inks things, it'll be more responsive. The Alt key will give you the inverse of your brush. So if you want to make things sharp, hold down the Alt key with the damn standard brush. And so pay attention to your reference. I'm not really doing it right now because you don't want to watch me spend an hour doing this. But things to be aware of. It's like this skin looks too smooth to be old skin, right? And if we look at our reference, it's a little bit bumpy. And so you might want to do something like go in, find a brush that has some detail to it, like clay brush. And right now, if we do this, it's going to add lumps, which isn't quite what we want. But we can change the alpha here to a different alpha, like, I don't know, you'll have to play around with it. So we can choose an alpha. Now that's going to change the brush's behavior, but we can also change this, so where it says this is the brush, this is the mode the brush is operating in, this is the brush's alpha channel. If we click here, we can say we want to spray, and that way it's going to, instead of doing a single stroke, it's going to spray it on there. Now you'll also see the color is changing. We want to make sure that RGB is not on. So then we can add some bumps. That's a bit too much. We can go and turn down the Z intensity. And that's still too much. It's not a pour brush. I'm just trying to add a little bit of bump to it, just so that it's not quite so smooth. And we don't want it quite as strong as some people's projects were, because that was too much. And you can do pours as well this way. So you can go to town. It depends on how realistic your character is. But if you're doing a realistic character, especially an older character, you don't want the skin to be perfectly smooth. So you might want to just add a little bit of imperfection to this.
If you already did some pours in Substance, would you then want to go and dial it back? Or do you put this on top of it?
You can put it on top, like you can add the two. Like if you're happy with what you've done in Substance, but you want to add wrinkle detail, then you can merge the two together. You can also, if you want to add a mole, I think the, let's see. Standard brush is pretty good at doing some of this stuff. So the standard brush, it goes over things and it just adds on top of it, which can be useful. Like sometimes you just, okay. Sometimes you just want to enhance something, so you could go and enhance a wrinkle or make a bump stronger, and this will preserve the details that you've already put down underneath. The clay brushes more overwrite what you have there. Okay, we're still getting some of that weird Windows ink behavior. But yeah, other questions? Anyone? Okay, go to it.